What's up, guys? Raiho here. I just had the opportunity to finally watch The Witch, which was this very divisive horror film that came out last year, 2015. It's one of those ones from the vibe I got was horror fans at least either loved or hated it, and then kind of the general movie-going public uh, definitely seemed to dislike it in some fashion. But people that actually seem to like film seem to enjoy it. And so I really wanted to check it out and see what my thoughts would be on it. And I finally got to watch it tonight, and I really enjoyed it. It's a period film set in like the 1630s, I believe. We have a community that's been forged in New England somewhere, kind of the Puritans that came over from England that have made their new homestead here, and sorry, not here, in North America though, in New England, and there's a family being ousted from the community. You don't know exactly what happened. It seems like maybe the father. Um, Maybe has taken his sort of his views on religion a little bit too far, and he kind of is maybe separating his family from this community because he thinks that there's maybe some corruption, maybe everyone there is sinners in his eyes or whatever it is. But it opens with the family being forced out of the community, and they go out into the wilderness in New England and kind of create their own little homestead, and are attempting to live their lives by the religion in the woods. I don't know how far they are from the town, but it seems like it's at least a couple of days ride. Um, it's kind of a weird film because it's you expect it as you're watching it um, to be one of those movies where you're not quite sure if the supernatural stuff is really happening or it's not, and you sort of expect the film to end with, oh, it was all, it was all for, it was all in this person's head or whatever. Uh, I guess I should say that I'm probably going to spoil the film if you haven't seen it. So this is kind of more for people that have seen the film that want to maybe discuss it or whatever. But the film opens up with the main female lead. Her name is Thomason. She's the oldest child and the daughter of the man. I believe his name's Caleb. Um, that was forced out of the community, and it actually opens up with her confessing her sins, and it's kind of this ominous thing. It's like what did she do? What is she confessing? And then essentially it does kind of play out at first as if maybe this is all in Thomason's head, maybe there's something wrong there with her, of course, with the confession. um, the youngest child of the family, Samuel, the baby, she's watching the baby, and the baby disappears, and of course the family believe that a wolf somehow got the child. She didn't see anything happen. She was looking right at the child. She was playing with him. And you have a scene where you see this witch, essentially, I mean, from what you can tell, she grinds the baby up and bathes in its blood. It's this really kind of disturbing imagery. Um, so you're kind of left wondering, is this really happening? Is this going on in Thomason's head? Is she doing it? Like, and that's sort of how the film plays out for till about halfway, and then you kind of see some more stuff happen, and you're like, something definitely supernatural is happening. This isn't inside her head. However, maybe she's really the witch, of course, and that's sort of how the movie plays out. Um, kind of all that stuff was sort of to the periphery for me. What really got me about the film, and I think was kind of the scariest, the monster of the film, the scariest character in the film, was the woods, or maybe even more importantly, the isolation of the woods. You have a family that has left England with, at the time, two children, and they've since had several more, but they've left their home. They've come to this new place, this scary new world where everything's very difficult and tough, and they have to really tough it out. But they're doing it because they believe they need to get away from maybe the sins and all that stuff. They're a Puritan family coming from the old world into the new world, and then again they get isolated from the whatever small community that they've managed to live in, and the safety of it. And here they are in the woods, and even the parents in the film, Caleb and his wife, I can't remember her name, unfortunately, um, they've told the kids, you know, don't go out in the woods, and it's made it to be this sort of this scary character, this scary place. And I think it's that isolation that really played on me. Uh, all the scary scenes for me were the ones where you just didn't know what was going on. It's dark, and the kids are in the woods, and is something going to get them? And you know, that's always the best way to do a horror movie, in you know, in my mind. When you watch kind of the old classics. You know, it's the films that don't really show the monster as much that almost always scare you a little bit more. So I think that's kind of what happened here. I'm glad they didn't overdo the whole thing with the witch. You know, have the witch constantly in there. Just a few scenes that they did have the witch in there I thought were great. They were spooky. They kind of came at you out of nowhere. It was scary. But you know, really, again, it's that kind of that isolation. And in a way, you know, the witch is there. She's beset the family. She's doing awful things to the family. Of course, she took the baby. Later, she takes the oldest son. Maybe his name is Caleb, and I can't remember the father's name. Anyway, whatever their names are, the oldest son, he eventually gets kind of taken by the witch, and and so the witch is really there. It really she's really doing things to the family, but at the same time, the family's falling apart anyway, again, from the isolation, from maybe their faith is kind of crumbling, and there's some difficulties there. And you know, you know, if they backed off the witch a little bit more, you could almost you. It's so weird. I know I'm having a hard time. The movie is really, it's kind of dichotomous in the fact that you could almost have it be both ways. You could have a film that had the supernatural stuff in it, and been, you know, been kind of a straightforward scare, and then you could have had the film where everything was psychological and really the family was just falling apart or whatever. And instead they kind of combine the two, so it's sort of this interesting mix that I didn't expect to see when I watched the movie. um, Especially the ending. The ending's so weird. The ending is so out there. I kind of, like I said, I thought it was going to be this really um, uh, vague ending, like, you know, what happened, like, was Thomasin a witch and was this all in her head or whatever. But it's really not. You watch Thomasin. She goes into the barn at night after having forcibly had to kill her mother, who was going to kill her or whatever, and her father was just killed by the goat, and she believes the goat to be the devil. Essentially, is what's going on at this point. It sounds really crazy. You have to watch the movie to understand. She goes into essentially into the barn with the goat, and the goat turns out to be the devil or something, and then she makes a devil's pact with him, and she goes and she finds a coven in the woods that are, you know, naked and writhing in blood and flying and all this foolish stuff. But that's kind of an interesting piece to the movie too, because as it ends, you know, some script comes up and it basically says this entire film was built on, you know, actual written historical records from the time when, I guess, like I said, I think this predates the Salem witch trials maybe, but it's around that time where people were kind of witch crazy or whatever. So it's interesting. It's almost like essentially they took all that stuff and they were like, it was real. You know, here's what it would be like if it was all real. If the witches really were there, they made a pact with the devil, um, and so the ending is sort of crazy, but at the same time it fits. Especially when you get that little piece at the end that kind of explains what they were going for when the filmmakers set out to make the film. So overall, again, I just really enjoyed it. The acting was excellent. The cinematography was excellent. I kind of found the space almost beautiful in a way, in its own stark kind of realism. It's really dark. It's really, you know, there's a few scenes at the very start where you see some blue sky, but for the most part it's just very gray, very cold. As I watched the movie, I had the window open next to me, and I felt like I was freezing. Um, so again, the acting, the music was good. It's very stark. There's very little music in a way, but it suits the film. And overall, I just thought it was altogether a really great sort of spooky period movie. So that's what I thought about The Witch. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. I know I'm late to the party on this. I always am these days, but I really like to hear what your thoughts are on the movie. And I guess I'll stop there. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll talk to you soon, and peace.